A son's reckoning. Hunter Biden found guilty. The courtroom was a somber place, filled with the weight of the moment. The air was thick with tension, as everyone present knew the significance of the trial. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Lawyers whispered among themselves, and the audience sat on the edge of their seats, waiting for the proceedings to begin. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the gravity of the situation. Journalists crammed into the gallery. Cameras flashed, capturing the arrival of Hunter Biden, son of the President of the United States. The media presence was overwhelming, with reporters from every major news outlet vying for a glimpse of the high-profile defendant. This was no ordinary trial. At stake was not just the fate of a troubled man, but the potential for political earthquake. The trial had captured the nation's attention, with every detail scrutinized and debated. The implications of the verdict would ripple through the political landscape, affecting not just Hunter Biden, but also his father, President Joe Biden, and the entire administration. After weeks of testimony, the jury reached a verdict: guilty. The courtroom fell silent as the foreman read the decision. The weight of the moment was palpable. As the reality of the verdict set in, the jurors had listened to countless hours of testimony, weighed the evidence, and come to a unanimous decision. Hunter Biden, once a figure shrouded in whispers and speculation, was now a convicted felon. The journey to this point had been long and arduous, filled with legal battles and public scrutiny. As he was led away in handcuffs, the gravity of his situation was clear. The consequences of his actions had finally caught up with him, and the impact of the verdict would be felt for years to come. The trial had not only determined his fate, but also cast a long shadow over the political landscape, raising questions about accountability and justice at the highest levels of power. Inside the courtroom, tax fraud and a gun charge. The atmosphere was tense, with every eye in the room focused on the unfolding drama. The stakes were high, and the gravity of the situation was palpable. The prosecution presented a meticulous case, laying out the charges against Hunter Biden. They detailed a complex web of financial transactions, painting a picture of deliberate deceit. The evidence was overwhelming, and the prosecution left no stone unturned. 2 counts of willful failure to pay federal income taxes, stemming from millions earned through foreign business dealings. The documents showed a clear pattern of evasion, with large sums of money moving through various accounts. The prosecution argued that this was not a simple oversight, but a calculated effort to avoid paying taxes. The defense argued that Biden, battling addiction, was unaware of the financial mismanagement. They painted a picture of a man struggling with personal demons, unable to keep track of his finances. However, the jury remained unconvinced. The defense's narrative seemed to lack the necessary evidence to sway their opinion. A separate charge, illegal possession of a firearm by a drug user, proved equally damning. The prosecution presented the firearm as a critical piece of evidence, linking it directly to Biden. The defense tried to argue that the firearm was not in his possession at the time of his drug use, but the evidence suggested otherwise. The jury listened intently, weighing the arguments from both sides. The case was complex, with many layers to unravel, but the evidence seemed to point in one direction. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as the trial moved forward, each side presenting their case with fervor and determination. The weight of a name, personal fallout for the president's son. The courtroom was filled with an air of tension, a palpable sense of anticipation hanging over everyone present. The verdict sent shockwaves through the Biden family. Faces that once radiated confidence now showed signs of strain and disbelief. The gravity of the situation was undeniable. Hunter, visibly shaken, now faces the prospect of prison time. The reality of his circumstances began to sink in, and the fear was evident in his eyes. The once assured demeanor was replaced by a look of sheer vulnerability. His struggle with addiction, once a private matter, became public fodder. The media frenzy surrounding his personal battles only added to the pressure. Every detail of his life was now under the microscope, scrutinized by the public and the press alike. The toll on his personal life, already heavy, grew heavier still. Relationships strained, friendships tested, and the weight of public opinion bore down on him. The emotional and psychological burden was immense. The name Biden, once a shield, now carried the weight of scandal. The legacy of a family that had been synonymous with political prowess and public service was now marred by controversy. The implications of this fallout were far-reaching, affecting not just Hunter, but the entire Biden family. News outlets and social media platforms buzzed with opinions and speculations. The public's reaction was a mix of sympathy and condemnation. The Biden family, once held in high regard, now faced a divided public opinion. In moments of solitude, Hunter reflected on the choices that led him here. The path to redemption seemed long and arduous, but the hope for a better future remained. The journey ahead was uncertain, but it was one he had to face head-on. Despite the turmoil, the support from his family and close friends provided a glimmer of hope. Their unwavering belief in his ability to overcome this adversity was a source of strength. The road to recovery and redemption was paved with challenges, but it was not one he had to walk alone. A father's love. Joe Biden stands by Hunter. The president, facing perhaps the greatest test of his political career, responded with a father's love. "My son is innocent," he declared, vowing to support Hunter through this ordeal. The president's unwavering support, while admirable to some, drew criticism from others who saw it as a blind spot, a refusal to acknowledge his son's wrongdoings. The Republican Party, long eager to exploit any perceived weakness in the Biden administration, pounced on the verdict. Calls for impeachment echoed through the halls of Congress. The president, already facing low approval ratings, found himself on the defensive. The Hunter Biden case, once a whisper campaign, became a rallying cry for the opposition. The guilty verdict on tax charges marked only the beginning of Hunter Biden's extensive legal woes. A separate investigation led by a special counsel loomed large and ominous. This probe, delving deeper into Biden's financial dealings, threatened to uncover further significant wrongdoing. The stakes, already high, were raised even higher, intensifying the drama. The Republican-controlled House of Representatives, energized by the verdict, initiated impeachment proceedings against President Biden. They alleged that the president, through his knowledge of his son's dealings, was complicit in corruption. Meanwhile, the Democrat-controlled Senate, however, remained skeptical. Across the country, the nation watched as a deeply divided Congress grappled with the implications of the case. The Hunter Biden case exposed the deep fissures within American society. Republicans, outraged by what they saw as blatant corruption, demanded accountability. Democrats, while acknowledging the seriousness of the charges, questioned the timing and motivation behind the prosecution. The public discourse, already fraught, grew even more polarized. The Hunter Biden saga unfolding on the national stage served as a cautionary tale. It highlighted the dangers of unchecked privilege, the devastating impact of addiction, and the unforgiving nature of public scrutiny. Hunter Biden, once a symbol of promise, became a cautionary figure, his story a reminder of the fragility of even the most powerful families. As Hunter Biden prepared for sentencing, the nation braced for further turmoil. The legal battles, far from over, promised to drag on, consuming time and resources. The political fallout, equally unpredictable, threatened to further divide an already fractured nation. The Hunter Biden case, a story of personal tragedy and political intrigue, was far from over.